You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn connects you with experts from all over the world to help you take charge of your career, your business, and your life. Rap along with us. Visit drjacalyn.com to learn how to become a guest or a sponsor. And now, the doctor is in.
Hello and welcome to Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn. It's all about dating. We are live on Business Talk Radio and social media. I'm your host and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. I am a certified life and career coach. And with me, as always, on It's All About Dating is my friend and co-host, Lisa Manyoky. Hi, Lisa.
Hey, welcome. How are you? Hello.
Hello, it's great to see you.
Yeah, you too. You too.
I don't know about you, but I'm going like a million miles a minute, and I'm so excited for this dating show. It's going to be fabulous. We've got two great guests, and you are the one who found them. They're your friends. Let's hear about them.
All right. So when Cheryl has this very sweet voice, we were actually on a class for ebooks, way back in, I think, 2007. And she said, she goes, I really don't like my voice. I said, are you kidding me? If I'm in a bad mood, I just want to talk on the phone. You could say anything. Just talk. It's very soothing. So we ended up becoming really good friends. I said, let's just talk on the phone, which became a 3-hour conversation. At the time, she was in Seattle, and I was going through a divorce. She was going through one. And she, crazy lady, said, I'm just going to close my eyes, and wherever my finger lands is where I'm going to move. And it was in Charlotte, North Carolina. So she literally uprooted herself from the West Coast, moved to North Carolina, and we became really good pals. So her hubby, Jerry, who's also with us, she met on Match. So when we were both in the dating, we both took relationship training for singles, which was, again, she pursued it professionally. I just had fun. But her husband, she met on Match because while we were both doing the dating thing, we would vet each other's matches. I still remember when I said, oh, he has a big heart and he's a really nice guy. So they got married. It's very hopeful.
I can't believe it. A Match.com success story. I love it. Yay, Cheryl and Jerry. Woo!
Yes. And he's lovely. So she's a matchmaker and a relationship coach. And Jerry, when she met him, he was running a divorce support group for men and women. I believe it was for men and women, but he's now a certified coach, and he helps people to move past divorce and separation so they can get on with life. Now, what's really interesting about these two is they have gone into the local prisons to bring relationship coaching to inmates who are awaiting either moving to the next tier or whatever.
Fascinating.
So she's a tiny little thing. She's only 5 feet. She'd go into prison, and command the show. And he did it too, which is really wonderful.
That's exceptional. I can't wait to bring them out. We had Cheryl here before, and she is a dynamo. And we just lost Cheryl and Jerry, so they'll be back soon, I hope.
Oh, they'll be back.
They'll be back, yeah. So I love the fact that they're doing something to help other people, and they're putting themselves out there. Going into a prison, people might have judgments, which there's no place for judgment as far as I'm concerned. But helping somebody who might not get that type of counseling is really amazing.
Yeah, and it's relationship coach. So not just dating, but in some instances that she was able to address communication issues that were destructive for, look, one party's in prison, the other is not. How do you bridge that communication gap?
Mm-hmm.
But there was protocol they had to follow. They ended up doing it. I don't know if they still do it, but it would be a good question to ask. It's nice, though, as a couple, though, they're very aligned in their pursuits. They're not identical, but they're aligned. So she compliments him and he compliments her, and they support each other's plans and growth, which, is the ideal, of course.
It sounds like a phenomenal relationship. And Cheryl's company is Heart and Soul Matchmaking. Is that right?
Yes. Heart and Soul Matchmaking. And Jerry, he's actually a painter. In fact, the sign behind them, a little plug here, I did the logo for it. Because when I see somebody, with my design career, when I see somebody who has graphics that aren't reflective of them, it makes me a little crazy. So I need to fix it. But I did that, and he painted it for her. So he's very creative, wonderful.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So Lisa, you have extensive experience in the radio world when it comes to having your own show. Why don't you share with us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, when Cheryl and I were studying, we had a radio show for a couple of years where I would join a bunch of dating sites and then we'd follow my stories. Now, Cheryl is always very protocol driven. She's a serious relationship coach. This is how it's done. And I was a little flip. I was more like comic relief. But we learned through my experiences examples that we could share with others so that we weren't just talking heads with lessons and how to. I mean, it was a lot of fun. And we came up with worksheets and tips and plans of what to do, what not to do, what to do for your profile, what to do for your photographs. And we did it for almost a couple of years until she got married and, well, she had other priorities to tend to. So we tabled it, but it was an awful lot of fun.
Well, and look where you are right now. You're still having fun, girl, but it's with me. How about that?
Really? It works for me.
Well, I see Cheryl and Jerry are back in the house. Let's bring them in.
All right.
Woo! All right. We see their name. We know they're there.
Maybe.
Okay. Cheryl and Jerry, can you hear us? Well, they're having some technical difficulties. Why don't we take a break and hear from our sponsors? And then when we come back, I'm sure we'll have Cheryl and Jerry, and they can fill us in on their love story that was made online at Match.com. So we'll be right back. Stay with us on Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn. It's all about dating.
Hey everybody, my name is Ralph Graves Jr. I'm the host of the Ralph Graves Jr. Show, and I want to invite you to pick up my book, Unstoppable. I wrote a book called Unstoppable. It's 7 universal laws that will transform how you pursue and achieve success. The one thing that my 20 years of law enforcement has taught me is that no matter who you are, we are all governed by universal laws, like gravity. But in this book, we're going to talk about laws like the law of forgiveness, laws like the law of control, the law of intelligent practice, the law of expectancy. I was able to see how those, no matter what their background was, those who identified and treated these laws with respect, they were able to go on and lead successful lives. So pick up this book, and you can go ahead and pick it up at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, RalphGravesJr.com, where anywhere where fine books are sold. Thank you.
There are 7.7 billion people on Earth today. 40% of these people are under the age of 25. Young adults are the most fertile mission field in the world today. In Scripture, we see Jesus pouring his life into 12 young adults who he equipped to change the world and all of history. Like Jesus, we believe that the best approach to reach the world with the gospel is to invest in young, emerging leaders and equip them to build disciple-making movements. Concentric is the notion of surrounding and sharing a common center. Our center is the model and strategy of Jesus for both leadership development and ministry formation. As a global alliance, we provide equipping in biblical leadership based on Jesus' example in the New Testament. Jesus modeled for us how to make disciples that reproduce. Focusing on leadership development is key to creating movements that spread the gospel and Jesus' disciple-making strategy to young leaders around the globe. Our Ministry Alliance partners are actively equipping leaders and building movements of multiplication that reproduce the life of Christ. Join us today to equip young leaders with Jesus' strategy that will change cities and nations.
The session that we had with BCAT was really entertaining and enlightening. We were able to put together some very specific steps that we as individuals can take, and it was really fun to all come together and see sort of where we're going as a team and how we can all get there together.
We had a tremendous experience with the BCAT partners. One of the challenges that we have as an organization is to make sure that we have the right people in the right chairs doing the right thing. To do that well, you have to have synergy. You can try to dream up ways to make sure that your group does that, or you can rely on experts. We would recommend BCAT partners to anybody who's looking to take their organization to the next level.
Academy Sedan and Limo is a full-service transportation company serving the Philadelphia metropolitan area with full knowledge of the New York City, Baltimore, and Washington, D.C. areas. We pride ourselves on being the most dependable, conscientious company in the industry. Our always on-time service and dependable pricing make us the company to call for any event or occasion. Our vehicles can accommodate any size party for any occasion. Our vehicles range from four-door sedans to SUVs to minivans to limo buses to full-size tour buses and can accommodate groups of 2 to 100. We offer airport shuttle service or over-the-road service without limitation regarding mileage or time, and no drive is too long or too far. So if you find yourself in need of transportation of any type with any vehicle, give us a call at 610-842-4564 and let us show you what a real transportation company can do for you.
Use code ACADEMY2020 to receive 20% off your first 3 rides, including parking and tolls.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Welcome back to Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn. It's all about dating, and our guests are here. This is so exciting, Lisa.
Yes, it is. Are they frozen or can we hear them?
Cheryl and Jerry, how are you?
There they are.
There they are.
It's like watching people in slow motion.
There you are. Hi, Cheryl. Hi, Jerry.
Oh, my goodness.
We're good.
Good.
Can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you now. So, and we see your sign, Heart and Soul Matchmaking, in the back. Very beautiful logo design and well painted.
Motion. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes, we can hear you now. So we're really interested to hear your story. I think.
Hi, Dr. Jacalyn.
Hi,
Lisa.
Hi there. I think we should have you call.
Can you hear us? No.
Yeah, we think you should call in to this number. I think it would be much better, and then we'll be able to hear what you're saying. So, if you could, let's put it in the chat, Lisa. And in the meantime, we'll just continue on. So, technological issues happen, and we just have to move on and not dwell on it. So, Lisa, we were talking before about your radio show.
Yep.
And last week we talked about the importance of online profiles. And when we look at the next step, let's say you have a great profile, and now it's time to do some searches or respond to some emails that people are sending to you. What's a good process to follow for a search routine? So if you're going to be on Match.com or any of these sites, should you just search for 5'10"? I mean, whatever physical attributes. What do you suggest on that?
No, there are certain parameters that should be fixed. For example, I remember when I was younger, my kids were younger rather, and I was too, I guess. I knew that I wasn't going to travel 90 minutes for a date because I had young kids at home. I wasn't going to leave them alone for a protracted period of time, or I wasn't going to have a babysitter there forever. And I wasn't certainly going to spend the night. So I had mileage thresholds. When one party is doing a lot of the driving and it's really long, it can get old if only one party is contributing. But if both don't have the flexibility to move back and forth, then, well, one person's going to do all the driving. If that person doesn't mind, then fine. But be clear about mileage parameters. When it comes to legal status and things such as that, as I say, clean up old business before new. But as far as physical attributes and looks, throw them away. Be open-minded and be willing to, go on a little experimental adventure. You'll learn what you like. You'll learn what you don't. But if you're too finite with parameters, you might rule out somebody who maybe didn't take a really great picture, or maybe wasn't communicating really clearly how terrific an individual they were. So not too tight. Again, the parameters that you need to keep tight, do. But be open-minded. Have fun.
Have fun. That's what it's all about. I like it. And speaking of having fun, we have Cheryl and Jerry with us. Welcome.
Thank you. One person. We're glad to be here. That person doesn't mind, that's fine. But be clear about my parameters.
I think you have the show playing in the background. Is there some way you can turn that off? That would be great. Then we won't get the feedback.
I know. I don't know how. That is. Hi. I don't know how to mute it. I mean, I've muted, but I hear you guys still.
Okay, so I have a great idea. Maybe you can log off the show, and then we'll just be able to hear you perfectly.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, there you go. So, Cheryl, tell us a little bit about your journey with Jerry and how you guys met on Match.com, because it's wonderful that these types of situations work out and you found true love.
All right. Yes. So, excuse me, just a minute. As far as exit pages. You guys, I'm so sorry about this. It's just not. I'm trying to just delete it from here. Okay, I think I'm off now. Okay, I'm so sorry for the technical issue.
That's okay.
I'm not sure what happens, but can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes, we can hear you now, and we'd love to hear about how you and Jerry met on Match, what that journey was like.
Yeah. Well, I was listening to when you and Lisa were talking, and I was listening to, she said, I just kind of put my finger on a map and moved to Charlotte. What I realized was that, and there was more to it than that, of course, but what I realized was that I came here to meet Jerry. And because he truly is my soulmate. And I think I was here, I don't know, I was here getting to know the city, getting to know people, starting my business, online dating, had, a couple of relationships or so. And then one day he showed up and in my match search, and I remember he had a lot of pictures, and I kept looking, and I thought, should I write him? Should I not write him? And I finally decided, I don't know what made me decide yes, but I did. Maybe it was Lisa. Maybe it was
so.
Lisa.
I said, do that.
So I wrote, and surprise, he wrote right back. And then it was, we had our back and forth in our communication, and then pretty soon, because we're both very verbal, we decided to, to talk on the phone, and we did that a few times, and then you want to pick up the story?
Yeah, I did that a few times. Actually, Cheryl did something that she was coached or trained to do, and that is to be the chooser. And I appreciated the fact that she reached out, and I thought she was just downright lovely, as we say in the South. And so I reached right back, and we started chatting, and we're still at it, aren't we?
Yeah, we started. Yeah, I always said we started talking, and we never stopped.
Yeah.
And then so we met in 2012.
Yeah.
And got married in 2014.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your story with us. So, Cheryl, what do you think it was about Jerry and his profile that stood out to you and made you want to contact him?
He had first of all, he's an artist. That's his passion. And that spoke to me because my ex-husband is an artist. He works in wood more than paint, but he paints as well. And so I don't know, for something about me, and I'm not creative at all, I'm attracted to these very creative types, artist types. And I also noticed, and I remember there was one picture, which I think was, I'm not sure, honey, I think it was your 50th birthday.
Oh.
And it was one of those group pictures, they were celebrating it. And he just looked like he had a lot of friends and a lot going on. And that was real appealing to me. So I wrote him.
That's fabulous. See that? If you follow your intuition, you never know where it's going to lead.
That's right. And of all the things, so many people, because Charlotte's one of those cities, Dr. Jacalyn, where, you know, there's a lot of transients here. And before I met Jerry, and he's a native Charlottean, most people that I knew were not from here. And most people that I knew didn't know anyone from here. So I got a real Southern gentleman here. And he is today.
I love that area, and you've got a great airport. Those rocking chairs and all the outlets that they have.
Yes. We haven't been there in a while, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I know, but it's a beautiful place to live.
So Chiclet, now, you know, Cheryl's really small, so she told me she never had a nickname, and she's got this big smile, so I call her Chiclet. And that name just stuck. And Jer's Jer Bear, because he's like just a lovable teddy bear. So it's Chiclet and Jer Bear. But Chiclet, Jacalyn was asking me about setting a lot of parameters for your searches. And I had said we always recommended that, you know, the ones that were fixed, you had to keep tight, like mileage or whatever was a permanent fixture that you absolutely had to share and dictate. But tell Jacalyn and our listeners about keeping your parameters wide, where you're looking beyond what you think you want, and why that's so meaningful.
Well, that's a really good question. And it's interesting because I didn't have narrow parameters, as you remember. I mean, I was meeting people in Wyoming and, you know, different places. And I realized after some long distance relationship that I really needed to narrow those down a little bit. So, but I wanted to, and we have a term, you're either screening people out or you're screening them in. And so I was screening them in with those big wide parameters. I didn't have a lot of must-haves at that time. And I mean, I even met someone from Australia, although he was, you know, traveling back and forth to the U.S. You know, Bruce.
I
Lacey.
do. Yeah.
Yeah. And but then I decided when I was really ready and got serious, I decided I really needed to look more local and focus in. And you know, I believe very much in the law of attraction. I believe that whatever's on the inside shows up on the outside. I just had fun with it. And I think that's missing from a lot of my clients and a lot of people I know. They either don't really think it's going to work, and it won't, because they think that. Or, you know, they say it's too much like work, and if they think that, it is. And for me, it was just fun. I just enjoyed it. And I loved communicating with people and meeting people. And I think the more people, especially if you've not been dating in a long time, and I had been married for a long time, the more people you meet, you know, the more you get to know what you can compare and contrast and get to know what you really like.
All good points. Thank you for sharing that, Cheryl. I just want to let our audience know that we are looking forward to hearing from you. We are live streaming on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitch, as well as Business Talk Radio. So you can text us your comments at 609-961-1699. I'm actually looking on my devices and I see you're out there watching us. We want to hear from you. What questions do you have for the lovebirds, Cheryl and Jerry? So, Jerry, let's hear from you. Tell us what it is that you're doing. You're a coach in an area where there's a lot of value, a lot of people going through hard times, divorce, really need to talk to someone. So share what you're doing with us, please.
Well, sure. It's basically I ended a 20-year marriage back in 2003, and I saw of a divorce support group, and I thought, you know, why not? So I went to the first week, I believe it was. I went to a meeting. They meet weekly, and the group itself is it's not. There are also faith-based support groups here in town. This is more of a self-growth oriented group, and they work primarily from Bruce Fisher's rebuilding work, rebuilding when your relationship ends. It's an excellent work, and I'm a big fan. So as I healed, I began facilitating the weekly meetings, and I did for over 10 years. And I now visit it once a month to facilitate blocks of work from the rebuilding work. So anyhow, from that, when Cheryl and I met in 2012, I was in the middle of all of that. And then actually wasn't in my profile. So you were just thrilled to hear that I was doing that work. So anyhow, I'm now, I've received certification for coaching just this year, early this year. And I've had practice clients with my training, and I've now got a few, as they say, paying clients.
Yes.
And so basically I work with those clients to help them with their divorce recovery and self-discovery, and help them learn skills to be their best in all relationships, not just romantic, and to become successfully single, because that is the goal of the rebuilding work, is not to get married again, but is to become a successful single. So basically in my coaching, I help them identify their biggest challenges and goals and maximize their full potential to reach their desired results. That's my elevator speech.
That's fascinating. And you know what else, Lisa? I'm thinking to myself as Jerry's talking, we have Cheryl, who's a relationship / dating coach / matchmaker. And we've got Jerry on the other side, who's a divorce coach. So you guys together are like full service. You know what I mean? Come in, meet each other, get married, and get divorced. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, we're gaining on it.
Yeah, we're going to do some things together for sure, and we do some things together. We host some discussions and things like that. But as Jerry's, I really believe that as Jerry's clients move through the various stages of what they're going through, and then they're ready for dating, and they're finished with their work with Jerry, then it's logical for me to work with them.
And they are a successful single.
Yes.
And that, to go along with that, it's really important for the people to learn that when you are a successful single, you're much more attractive as a dating partner.
Absolutely. That makes sense.
But define successful single, though.
Sure. First off, you're comfortable in your skin and your situation. You're resolved to the fact that you're a single person, and you're happy with that. You enjoy your life. One thing we don't want to do while we're single, and maybe before we get to be successfully single, is to put our lives on hold and say, "I'll be happy when." It's not the destination; it's the journey. And so, basically, there's a lot of work to be done, in my opinion, to get there. The idea is that 5-10 years later, when we're at the doctor, we don't check the box divorced, we check the box single, because by then that's where we feel like we are. And when we are successfully single, we're able to date again, consider an LTR, a long-term relationship, or get married again. But those are choices that we make on our own. We make the right choices for ourselves, because we may not want to get married again, and that's okay. We're basically ready to do what we want to do with our next life and enjoy doing that. And to be honest, in my opinion, to get to that stage, there's a lot of work to be done, including there's several blocks within the work. Oh my goodness, working through our anger, working through our learning about childhood adaptation strategies we use that turn into issues when we're adults, improving our self-worth, learning to take off masks learning what love is. Of course, love is a 4-letter word, SELF. That's where it starts. Love starts with self. And so people, we don't realize these things. So these are some of the things and then growing relationships along the way. And then we get to a point of singleness and purpose. So that's kind of the blocks that we work through.
Jerry, I loved everything I just heard you say, and I'm over here smiling. I can remember being at a doctor's office and filling out a form, and it was divorce, blah, 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 single. And I thought, I'm single. I mean, I'm divorced, but that was like so long ago. I'm so past that. I'm single. So now I always put single.
Guess what? I put divorced, and then I write above it, happily.
That's good.
And so when I remember I went to a doctor and the nurse came and she goes, "Are you the happily divorced girl?" Because they don't get to see that. So I actually altered the form and made my own.
Good for you, branching out on your own.
That is.
That's right.
Hey guys, we have to take a break and hear from our sponsors. Sorry about that. But this is great conversation. And when we come back, because we've been in this pandemic, it's going to be a year. There are people who are together who maybe don't want to be together anymore, right? That's definitely something that's a fact. So I'd like to hear from Cheryl and Jerry when you know it's time to see a divorce coach.
Oh, good.
All right? All right,
Good.
We'll be right back. Stay with us right on Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn. It's all about dating. Located at 121 Haddon Avenue in Westmont, New Jersey, is Margie Cedrone, artisan jeweler. Margie's been in business for more than 30 years. She works with her clients to create custom pieces of jewelry to reflect their personality and help them make their own bold statement. Starting in the renowned Jewelers Row in Center City, Philadelphia in 1988, Margie works directly with her clients to develop one-of-a-kind pieces such as necklaces, engagement rings, wedding bands, unique watches and tennis bracelets, as well as a myriad of rings and earrings for everyone in your family. She also has worked directly with Dr. Jacalyn over the years, creating unique pieces of jewelry to reflect her personality. She does pearl stringing and repairs on site at 121 Haddon Avenue. Call or text Margie at 215-384-7155. Margie Cedrone Jewelry is open by appointment only. Make your own bold statement.
Looking for children's books to embrace the imagination, to inspire your kids to be the best they can be, and to love themselves? Look no further. Children's author DianeFloydBain.com. You'll find the books right there and on Amazon and local stores.
Every day, it was the same old story. I worked hard to make sure no one noticed what I was dealing with, but my stomach never cared where I was. And the pain just kept coming. After too many close calls and even weight loss, I had to do something. The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation helped me realize what was going on and even helped me find a specialist. Don't hide your symptoms. Get help at spillyourguts.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Welcome back. We are here on Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn. It's all about dating, live on Business Talk Radio. Thank you to Chris Roberts for doing that for us. And on social media, my co-host is the lovely Lisa Manyoky. And we have the dynamic duo, the relationship coach / matchmaker and the divorce coach, Cheryl and Jerry. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having us.
So let's talk about people, as we've all been stuck at home, and maybe you're with somebody that you've been with for a long time, or it's a new relationship and you didn't know each other, but now you do know each other, and now you know you don't want to be together. When do you contact a coach?
What Jerry does, the separation and divorce recovery?
Yes.
Okay. That's so nice you answered that.
Yeah, that's a great question. We'll keep in mind that I heard a kind of a joke the other day. It may not be a joke. Through the pandemic, there'll be more babies and more divorces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe not. So, maybe it's a good time to contemplate what's happening in your life and in your marriage or in your relationship. And, it's a real strainer. I went to stay at home back in March. I was a COVID casualty. And so we've been cohabitating 24/7 since then. And, we've had our difficulties. We've managed to talk through them. It's a great question. I think that it's a real tester, like in early dating when you vacation together, that sort of thing. So even if you've been together for a long time, if you're both staying at home together 24/7, that's a real challenge for any relationship.
Yeah, let me speak to that a little bit. See, I've always worked at home as a coach, and so I had my routine. And Jerry's always worked out of the home, and he had his routine. And all of a sudden we're plopped down in the same space for 24/7, which is so true. And he was getting in my way. He was getting in my routine. And it was hard. And I know he was a little like a fish out of water because he didn't know what to do. But here's the key. We have great communication, and we really we sit down with a glass of wine or whatever. We don't do it when we're mad, but we save it, and when we're more relaxed, and we just talk about what the issues are, and we resolve them.
And one more, if I may. I make sure that we definitely address the question. If I find myself in a difficult situation in my relationship, and it's even more so because we're stay at home, I think I would really think hard about the situation and maybe Google search some options. And, we have many people come to the divorce support group just to check it out and see what's involved. And then they are not past the point of no return. And then they say, well, this may not be what I need right now, and they may go back and give it another try. But the idea, I guess, is if you're in that kind of situation, there are options. There are always options. And Google search is a great place to start to see what helpers are out there that may help with your struggle.
Yeah, it may not be a coach. It may be a therapist, a counselor, maybe. Support group. It may be anything. But here's the thing. Jerry was saying that during COVID or after COVID, there's going to be more babies born and more divorces. And divorces also happen after the holidays quite often, after Christmas and New Year, separation and divorces. Also, just right after the holidays is the busiest time in online dating. I think January 6th is one of the busiest days. And so there's a lot of things going on in normal times, but really tough now. So I would hope that and there are couples coaches, and that's not what I do, but anyone can can Google couples coaches and work with them. They may not be ready for a therapist. They may not be ready for separation and divorce, but they just may need some help.
Thank you for sharing that. When do you know that it's the end, that it's not going to work anymore? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, so if I answer this, I have to give you a personal experience for me, because I think for everybody it's different. there are so many different dynamics in relationships. But honestly, for me, and it just got to the point where I didn't want to come home. I started getting a little bit of a roving eye, towards someone people who I thought might give me some attention because I wasn't getting what I needed. And we weren't able to communicate. And honestly, so I just, over time, I just made that decision. I was the one who left, though, and Jerry's the other side of that.
And yeah, I have a good flip side to that one. I realized, I learned that my marriage was over when I was informed so.
Oh, wow.
There's a big part of the rebuilding work about dumpers and dumpees, guilt rejection. And the one thing that we learn when we learn our role, when we do the autopsy of the marriage, we learn that there were times that I was the dumper, there were times that she was the dumper, and they back and forth throughout the relationship. But basically one person has to be the initiator because we learn it's not a good fit and, it's no longer working. So one person has to initiate that to know when it's over.
Yeah. And I would like to add that there is a way to do that gracefully and respectfully and responsibly. Now, I was totally blindsided when my husband left. He literally took the kids to school, came home, put his key on the table, saw a lawyer 3 days later and sued for divorce right away. So I was absolutely shocked. As an intelligent woman, I thought, how did I not see this happening? I felt really stupid. But to do something like that is cowardly and cruel, especially when there are children involved who are now having to make sense of what's seemingly insensible. So if you are the individual who has decided that this relationship is no longer viable, and it's really important to be kind.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great point. And there are ways to handle it because actually to that point, there's a part of the work about good dumpers and bad dumpers, good dumpies and bad dumpies. It can be done well or horribly in both scenarios.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and mine was painful for the kids, for our families, and it doesn't lay the groundwork for fast repair or understanding that eventually, if you're willing, the sting of it all goes away. And I know some really wonderful couples who are divorced a while, but still can be in the same room together and not want to hurt each other, or they can collaborate at family events. That to me is the ideal. But when you leave recklessly, it makes it very difficult to even want to contemplate being in the same room up the road, even after the sting is worn off.
Right. And I gave my ex-husband 6 months, and truly I think I was very kind. I was also filled with guilt. I think the person who's the initiator often is dealing with a lot of guilt because he's a good guy, and I didn't want to hurt him. We'd been married 28 years. I didn't want to hurt him. Mm-hmm. So everybody has to, again, everybody's situation is going to be different. Hopefully people won't do what your ex did, Lisa, because that's just
it's cruel.
That's tough.
Cruel.
Yeah.
Well, it's horrible. Yeah. And I think it's I think that's the exception and not the rule. Jerry hears a lot of stories.
Yeah. Hear a lot of stories, and I guess maybe one of my favorites is that not favorite story, but what is so typical is when new people would come to the support group, they would always say, "Well, my story is different," and they all are. Every single separation scenario is different from the last one.
We have to take a break, but I have, 10 different topics that we could go from what you're talking. It's so much good information. I'd like to hear more when we come back about the work that you're doing for and with people who are in prison in terms of trying to facilitate a relationship with their significant other, their spouse who's not in prison. So can we start with that when we come back?
Absolutely.
Good.
All right. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this message.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Welcome back from the break here on Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn. It's all about dating, live on Business Talk Radio and social media. Lisa Manyoky, you brought us some great guests today. Why don't you set the table, set the room for us?
Yeah, Jerry and Chiclet, I gave everybody a little sneak peek at your work with people who are in jail. So I thought that would be lovely for you to share.
Yeah. So here's another thing that's an interesting story. So when you're online dating, you don't always meet people that just for dating. Sometimes you can get a job, and that's actually what happened to me. Mm-hmm. Early on, when I came to Charlotte, I was on Match and met this guy who put in his profile, which I thought was so interesting, that he ran this program in the county jail. And I reached out to him, and he was separated, not divorced, so he was not a candidate for me. That was one of my requirements. You had to be divorced. And I reached out to him, and I said, you're not a candidate for me because you're separated, but I love what you do, and I'd love to meet you just to learn more about it. And so we had lunch, and he asked me, when he found out obviously what I did, which I did not have in my profile, so I didn't want to scare anyone away, he asked me if I would consider coming in and do a weekly class with the women in jail. Actually, I did some men's classes too for a while, but I resonate more with the women. And I said, absolutely, I would love to. And that was a 10-year gig. And he turned out to be quite a good friend, and it was wonderful, wonderful experience.
So that's so unique. I never even thought about that, but yet it has so much value. What was the experience like going to the prison and working with the individuals?
Yeah, well, and you can imagine how stressed relationships are when one half of the couple is in jail, right? And often, or many times, it was the other half of the couple, it was their fault that they were in jail. And then also sometimes the other half of the couple was in a different prison, different jail. Sometimes they were in the same jail. We didn't do prison. We just did county jail, our biggest county here in Charlotte. And they have a men's area and they have a women's area, and sometimes the couple was in the same jail. So there's a lot of, as you can imagine, a lot of trust issues with the people that we worked with. And I know Jerry did some work. So
yeah, Cheryl worked for 10 years in that, and then of course COVID put a stop to that. We're hoping to be able to get back to that. But anyhow, and I did about 5 years.
I brought him in.
Cheryl introduced me, to Glenn, our friend that runs Life Connections, which is the company that does the programs. Basically, life skills is the itinerary. So I was brought in to do that. And what's fascinating, really, if you can picture, typically we would be in the middle of a pod, and there's an armed guard there, and then the inmates, or the residents, as we call them. There's a guard there. Yeah. And the residents, don't call them inmates. Yeah. The residents gather at tables around in the center area of the pod. You look around, level 1 and level 2, there's all the cells. So it's a big cavernous area, and you got a whiteboard, and you've got instructional tools that you choose on your own. That's the wonderful part about the whole experience, is that they don't tell you what to do. You're free to do any
relationship is a big life skill. So of course, with my background and the work that I work with clients, just fell right into what I was doing in the jail. And Jerry did more of a more general life skills series, including relationships, because he was well qualified for that. But you'd be surprised how, and our point was, we want to give them some skills that will allow them to be able to make it, when they get out of prison. And some were going to prison, and some were going to be released. And we wanted to make sure that that they were equipped with some skills that they just didn't have before.
Yeah.
And again, try.
And if I may, just to be brutally honest, you really make connections with people, and and we did primarily work with the ladies. We did men as well, but mostly work with the ladies. And you can really tell when you make connections with people, and you're helping them, and they're teaching you as well. And you can see the ones that aren't connecting, and it's sad, because they're likely to be right back there again. But for those that are connecting, and it's more than half, it's very rewarding. To use one of Cheryl's favorite expressions, it feeds your soul. You walk out of there, first off, you're walking out of jail. And thank you, God, I'm walking out of jail now. And sometimes, typically, the sun is shining, and you have your little walk. It's right in downtown Charlotte. You have your walk across the way to get to your car, and it's a very rewarding, pleasant. You've done some good for some people, and we miss it. Yeah, we loved it, and we miss it.
Yeah, we hope to get back. Yeah. So thanks for asking about that.
Thanks for asking.
It's really interesting. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to start with Cheryl. How does someone work with you? We're streaming your website, heartandsoulmatchmaking.com. But what's that process look like to work with Cheryl Spangler?
Well, the first thing is to go to that website and fill out either a contact form, probably a contact form, which gives me a little basic information about the person and lets me know what they're interested in doing. From there, I get in touch with them, and they can also, by the way, reach me on Facebook. That's another, I'm all over there, LinkedIn. But I get in touch with them and send them a link to my calendar if they would like to have a complimentary 30-minute phone call with me, phone or video call with me. And it's really, a strategy call or a discovery call. It's where we get to know each other a little bit. And on that form that they fill out when they make the appointment, my question is, what is your biggest challenge around dating and relationships? And that kind of gives us the agenda for the call. Is there anything else that you want to talk about? And so 30 minutes can go pretty fast. But really, coaching is so personal, Dr. Jacalyn and Lisa, that Lisa knows this, that you've got to have a connection.
Yep.
This is a very personal service. And that 30 minutes is really long enough to decide whether or not there's a connection. And then from there, if we feel there is, then the next step could be a 90 minutes, literally a 90-minute strategy session. Like let's make some goals about, let's put some meat on the bones, if you will, about how you're going to get out there and meet somebody or whatever their particular goal is. But there's a lot to that, and there's a lot you can accomplish, including, I'm an online dating concierge. I've got some expertise there. So including, helping them craft their profile, showing them how it works, how to work it, because it can be a little complicated, but that could be it. And then I have programs beyond that. So it would just depend on what the client needs.
Thank you, Cheryl. When you and I first met, you had asked me a question. I think it was on a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated I was to meet someone. And 10,
and I know what you said.
Yeah. And so I said 1 out of 10. So my question for you is, when someone comes to you, do you ask them that? Do you find out if they are committed to actually meeting someone or just interested in it? Does it make a difference?
Well, first of all, Dr. Jacalyn, you were my only one. You're my only who said one. I actually ask everybody that I speak with on that 30-minute call where they are, because here's the deal for me. And I'm a veteran at this. I've been doing it for 12 or 13 years at this point. If somebody isn't at least an 8 or higher, then they're not going to be committed, to invest both their time and their money in really making this happen. So if somebody is a 7 or an 8, what's it going to take for you to get to a 9, an 8 or a 9? So I won't work with anyone who's below an 8.
All right, I'm out. I'm out.
Never work with you, Dr. Jacalyn. A long way to go.
Well, remember what we talked about in the beginning about being happy being single. So that's where
there
I
you
am.
go.
So.
Yes, there you go.
Good.
And
So-
Lisa's too, I think.
Yeah.
I say I have a 10 with no urgency, so I have a qualifier, meaning
That's right. I would work with you.
You're in and I'm out. So Jerry, how do people contact you, and what does your process look like to work with someone?
Process is similar. It begins with a discovery call, and then we also offer them a free service along with the call to go to the Rebuilding Online a divorce adjustment scale. They can fill the scale online. It's 100 questions. It's 20 minutes. Turn it in. And in 2 or 3 days, you get a reply back from the team about your results. And then I offer a free phone call to that and talk it through. And then I offer my program. My website is a fun one, or not my website. My email address. Sorry, I'm building my website. Is Jerry H. Puck, like hockey puck. Jerry H. Puck at Gmail. And anyone could send a note anytime to that about separation, divorce, recovery coaching, and I'd love to hear from them and talk with them.
Fantastic. It's been our pleasure having you here, Cheryl and Jerry. Thank you so much. Any final words for our audience?
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
Appreciate being able to come in on the phone and
Yeah.
have this conversation. It was great. Thank you so much, Dr. Jacalyn and Lisa.
And Dr. Jacalyn, thanks for your people, because they did a great job to make this happen.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris Roberts from Business Talk Radio. He is a tremendous person. So, all right, guys, thank you so much. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Lisa.
What?
You are what? Were you dozing over there, my friend?
No, they were so engaging. I mean, aren't they? The back
lovely
between the two of them, they're just a lovely couple, and it gives people hope.
It definitely does.
Yeah.
And I just want to talk about you for a minute, because you are the founder of Presence Intelligence, and we realize when you're going to be dating, when you're going down that path, you have to be very much aware of your presence. So why don't you share a little bit with us about what it is that you do at Presence Intelligence?
Well, I make certain that whoever you are on the inside is aligned with what you project on the outside. So if you feel poorly about your appearance, or if you feel like you hate your job, the things that are not working well are going to leak into the parts of life that are working well. So when I work with my clients, I identify them really quickly. I have an assessment. It's actually an inventory. It's called the Presence Intelligence Alignment Inventory, that enables people to answer 99 questions that shows really quickly where their areas of strength are and where their areas of weakness are, so that we can correct what's not working well and then use strengths to draw out the best parts of them so that they become happier and more fulfilled. And then as a result, more attractive to others, whether it's personal circles or professional. It works both ways.
Well, I hope people will reach out to you. And how's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, the gift from CoachLisa.com, they'll get a little giveaway. But listen, they can find me from you. But the website, presenceintelligence.com, is where they'll get some information about that experience, which is really helpful.
Fantastic. Well, my friend, thank you for being here again for another fabulous show and bringing Cheryl and Jerry so we can hear their story of love and how they're helping people every day. It's beautiful. Yeah. So I'll just close out the show and I'll see you backstage in just a second.
All righty.
Thanks, Lise.
Bye-bye.
Bye. And once again, thank you to our loyal listeners and our viewers. We really appreciate you being here. We have 11 shows this week. Every one of them has been with outstanding guests. So we strive to bring you content that really resonates. If you have something that you want to share with us about our program, if you'd like to be a guest, if you'd like to be a sponsor, please go to our website, and you can also book your session on rappingwithdrjacalyn.com. We have a new platform called A Better You. And in addition to the interviews, this is an interview show. In addition to these interview shows that we have A Better You, which is an opportunity for you as a coach, a consultant, a trusted advisor to do a 15-minute presentation and then be a panelist with other presenters. So this is a great opportunity to get your expertise out into the world. We will soon be launching an extension of A Better You, which is a Better You University. So we'll be able to take your 15-minute presentation, onboard it onto our training platform, and then the public can purchase it. So if you are a coach, you are a consultant, you're a business leader, you're someone with expertise, and you have content that you'd like to get out to the public, we can host it on our platform. And finally, we are also offering, you can go to our website, drjacalyn.com, the ability for you to have your own show and have us produce it. So join the Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn brand and give your message out to our audience, our listeners on Business Talk Radio and social media. We'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. We've got 3 great shows. You can find out more again on drjacalyn.com. Until then, God bless you. Thank you for being here. We hopefully will see you again tomorrow. Take care.